What's up, everyone? Michael Manaskanian here, and I am so excited to be breaking down some of the key 10 lessons that I've learned after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, maybe not hundreds of thousands of dollars, over $100,000 in my real estate investing journey, right? That's not the money I've spent in investing in real estate. That's the amount of money that I spent investing in myself. That comes from education, mentorship, masterminds, just connecting and networking and all that good stuff that has allowed me to buy over $25 million of real estate in just a few years. So the reason for this is that I just wrapped up year 2 of Owners Club with one of my mentors, Pace Morby. This is a elite real estate investment mastermind as part of the underneath the branch of the Sub 2 community. I learn so much from the actual information that's being shared there and all that good stuff. But I really wanted to highlight for you all, especially those of you who can't spend that much money in your investing journey because you may be earlier or don't have the ability to because of time or whatever the real situation is. I want to be able to share with you some of the key things that I've learned, not just the stuff that you can find on YouTube, but really the patterns that I've noticed from all of the most successful investors in these rooms. And funny enough, some of the best lessons have actually come from not even the best investors, but seeing those that have been in it long enough not achieve the results that they want and what differentiates themselves from the people that are the best, the new ones that explode up, those that are consistently building, and those that feel like they're spinning their wheels constantly with little to no result. So I'm going to break down some of the 10 key lessons that I've been able to, basically identify throughout this entire period and see if I can help you out, at least unlock one of those, if not all of them, in your own investing journey. If you would like, drop a comment below and I'll give you the actual list of the 10 key lessons. Or as always, you can find it. It will be posted in my free, formerly known as Wealth Through Real Estate community, but we are transitioning over to an even cooler, more intentional name because I'm not here just to help people on the back end build wealth through real estate, but also to help you on the front end develop your real estate freedom roadmap. Right? I want to be able to help you and meet you where you are at because I've been helping people for years where they're at, right? Because I was just there just a couple years ago, whether you're completely brand new and don't know anything, so you're just learning. You're learning stuff, but you don't know how to turn it into action. You don't know how to define the route that you should be going. You might have money, but don't have time. You might have time, but don't have money. You might have both of those and want to scale up. I can pretty much help you with every single one of those, right? And that's why the whole point isn't just building wealth through real estate, but it's the entire real estate freedom roadmap to meet you where you're at, where your skills are at, where your time and money's at, so that you can achieve the results that you want. So a lot of that is absolutely for free in that community. So let me just drop the link for you guys. And I can show you all the free courses, tools, education. But if you've been following along, I don't get a bunch of random viewers. I get people who are repeat. And if you've been following, you already know what's in there. I already give you guys tons of free education tools and resources. Feel free to take advantage of it. I think this link still leads you over there. Otherwise, I'll update it in the description below so that you can get access to it later. All right. So as I mentioned, I spent over $100,000 on my real estate education, mentorship, mastermind, and rooms like the one I just got back from Owners Club. That is not the amount that I've invested in real estate. That is the amount that I've invested in myself. One of the biggest ROIs, one of the biggest return on investments that you can ever have is investing in yourself. However, I'll talk about, to start off, why you don't have to invest a single dollar when it comes to starting to invest with yourself. I will be very transparent. Of that $100,000+ I've invested, not all of it has panned out, but that's the reality of it. Not every single investment will have a direct ROI, right? You might pay for something that wasn't relevant for you right then and there. But I will be also very honest that this investment in myself has helped me go from just a handful of rentals to over $25 million of real estate in under 5 years. And more scary or impressive than that is the fact that it's not just this 25 million, it's everything else that I continue to do with the skills, knowledge, resource, and momentum. The thing is, it takes time to build, but then it gets easier and easier to build. I don't know if you've heard, if you're into the personal finance, financial freedom space, when people are talking about the journey to $1 million, they always say the first $100,000 is the hardest. And the reason for that is that the skills needed to earn, save, and invest up to $100,000 is fundamentally all you need to then be able to get to $1 million. And the halfway mark for $1 million is not $500,000, it's $300,000, because all of the investments that you've made start compounding on themselves. And that's the same thing with real estate. The first property took me years, right? And then I got the next property in a year. And then I got the one after that in just a couple months. And then I got to $2 million real estate, then 10 million, then 20, now 25 plus. And we just keep growing. And that's what compounds. What I want you to understand is after being in all these rooms and spending a lot of money in these rooms, the biggest lessons that I've learned were not always tactics. They were not strategies. They were not how to better manage a property or how to, whatever. It's not really like tactical. That was the most important. What was the most important lessons that I've learned have come from the patterns that I've seen across thousands of investors. Like I said, those who broke through and are literally the top of the top, those who are building consistently and who are actually taking massive action. You could just see they're on the verge of just exploding in the best way possible. And also those who stayed stuck. Those that started their journey before me or right around the same time as me, but they barely made any real movement and progress. Like I said, today's goal is to help you unlock one, if not all 10 of these, to apply into your business, to apply into your investing journey, to just help make the journey faster and easier for you. Because that's the whole point of all this stuff. All the kind messages that I get from you guys, the comments, all of this amazing confirmation that you're getting value is all I can ask for. It validates that my goal of trying to help who I was 8 years ago when I was starting out, 5 years ago as I was buying properties, and as I was scaling throughout my investing journey, it's really resonating with you guys and it's actually benefiting you guys. And if that's the case, give me a comment, give me a like if you want more of this stuff, subscribe, all that good stuff. But just let me know, because I'm doing this to help an earlier version of myself, which is a lot of you guys who are in your journey towards building massive wealth and freedom through real estate. So ironically enough, we're talking about how I've spent over $100,000 in investing in myself and education, all that. Well, we're going to start with layer one. We're going to remove all of the excuses. Lesson one is that free education works really well, especially early in your investment journey. You do not need to pay for any form of mentorship. I learned everything that I needed to buy my first real estate investment property without ever spending much more than, $50. I bought books. I listened to podcasts. I use free online tools and forums. There's free investment groups and communities. You can basically learn everything, mostly everything that you need to successfully start in your real estate investing journey without ever spending a single dollar. But also be transparent that if and when you do invest, what you're really doing is you're saving time. You're learning more quickly than having to go through 10 podcasts or books to learn something that someone else has gone through. You're learning from someone else's experience, whether that's your mentor or the people in the room. And you're also getting access to a larger group of people. It's the same way that at this Owners Club event, which costs, tens of thousands of dollars a year, I'll say, for Owners Club. I'm the first person to join, first person to renew, so my pricing is probably different than yours. But it's how I've been able to sit at a table with someone I've never talked to. We get into a conversation. Lo and behold, they own the nicest, largest Airbnb in Denver, and they have up to $2 million that they're looking to invest with operators like myself so they can grow and scale their portfolio into new assets. That is what really the biggest unlock is of these events, these networking, these masterminds. It's the community, it's the people, it's the resources that are available. It's not always just the education, right? The education could be a little bit better, and the education could expedite your journey, but you can learn mostly everything that you need to for free. And I'm kind of the best example of that. I literally give away so much stuff for free. I guess this is a perfect time to just show you all these free courses, tools, resources, all these various things to help you out on your journey. I give so much of that away for free. Literally, you could make tens of thousands of dollars. You can make massive strides in your investing journey through just the free content I personally give away, let alone all the other stuff out there. I mean, quite literally, you can go into you have a community, you join for free. You have a community of over 2,000 investors like that. 2,000 serious people who are dedicated to investing, whether they're real estate buyers, lenders, wholesalers, bird dogs, whatever it is, it's literally there for free for you. You go into the classroom, you could learn the entire blueprint to financial freedom, starting with your financial freedom, like your personal finance and all that stuff, learning what real estate investing is and how it benefits you and how to analyze deals traditionally and creatively, how to bird dog, how to make money, finding great deals, getting paid to find great deals for end buyers, developing your skills and building your bank account. That's sick. And then learning a lot of information on my favorite investment strategy, co-living, right? Yes, I have my low cost co-living freedom community, right? So you're more than welcome to upgrade, or if you're someone who's already an experienced real estate investor who's looking to just scale, you want to incorporate, find better deals, make them earn more for you, raise the money to buy those deals, and then have the systems that allow for you to be able to scale. Great. That's super investors. The vast majority of people that I help and talk to, you're not ready for super investors. Most of you guys are ready for the co-living freedom community, because I'm primarily talking to real estate investors. But if you're brand new, unless you have good money and you're willing to just expedite your journey from the start, you should leverage the free stuff that's available to you. Free calculators, free tools, all of that in here, absolutely free for you. And if you're someone who just wants to partner on deals, you just want to partner with me, and you're like, hey, you know what? I would love to I want to just put my money to work. Like I said, the other investors that I talk to, I have a very simple form that you can fill out. And I'm going to show you that right now. And why it's imperative that you do something like this too, if you're raising money. It is very beneficial. If you're raising money, I'm going to drop the link in there, and I'm going to open it up and just show you guys what that looks like for those of you guys who want to partner with me, but also those of you guys who want to learn, right? Here's my simple partnership form. I want to know about you and your investing journey. What type of lending are you interested in? Are you want to be a private money lender, or do you want to co-own assets with me? Or are you someone who is connecting capital? You know people with lots of money. You can't put it to work yourself. You're connecting it, and then we're seeing if we're a good fit. Are you looking to invest right away? How much? Are you interested in being introduced to other opportunities? And are you a accredited investor? You tell me where you're at and what you're looking for. I can probably match you with the right deal. So if you're someone who knows you're going to need to raise capital, cheat code. I just gave you exactly what I've done to raise $6+ million. What is the tip? What is the start place for all my cap partners? And if you're someone that is interested in doing that, well, I got that for you right there as well. So you got it right there. All right, let's move on. So the first key lesson, let's see. So the first key lesson right then and there was that free education works really well, especially early. And the reason for that is it doesn't really matter how much money you spend in education. Honestly, sometimes people with more money are at a disadvantage because what they're doing is they're just paying for stuff. They're just paying for stuff and they're just consuming stuff. They're not actually making real progress. So if you can execute with free education, you're going to really supercharge your stuff with paid education. If you don't execute with free or paid, none of it matters, right? And that's going to get into lesson 2. So lesson 1, free education works early. Paying for the right mentorship can expedite the journey for you, make it faster and make it easier for you. Lesson 2 is none of this works unless you do. There is no mentorship, no education, no tool, no resource, no course, no get rich quick scheme that will result in what you want. You will not be able to accomplish your goals unless you put in the work. Fundamentally, like full stop. If you are watching this and you think investing in education is like a vending machine, you put $5 in, you get $1,000 out, you are probably someone who unfortunately is not going to be successful in real estate until you change that mindset. You probably won't be successful in very many things unless you change that mindset. There is literally no one that makes money thinking that you don't have to do any work and you get the end result. The only people that make money doing that are the people selling you some BS get rich quick scheme so that you can invest with them, they take your money, and that's it. They're the only ones that benefit from misleading you that way. There is, with AI, with automation, with everything, there is literally nothing worth achieving that doesn't require work. You cannot be successful in anything without putting in the work. You cannot have a fit and healthy body without putting in work. And I'm not saying work as in reading books and all that. That'll get into lesson 3, or looking at other people do the work, right? You have to actually put in the work, and there's no amount of money, education, anything that will ever change that. There is no system. As someone who sells my super investor operating system, the system that helps real estate investors scale through better deal flow systems, better capital raising systems, and better operational systems, not part of that means anything unless you put in the work. It will literally mean nothing for you unless you put in the work. Especially early on, the work that you do matters more than any system. The work that you do is what helps you achieve your results. And the systems just make that more scalable. But if you expect to just put money in and get a result, very rarely does something like that happen unless you have a lot of money and you want to just be a capital partner, right? If you want to be a lender or a partner with someone, great, right? Find the right people, vet their deals, invest with them. Otherwise, there is no education of anything that will achieve the results that you're looking for unless you put in the work, full stop, fundamentally. That's why I say sometimes those who are focused on just free education can be more successful than those that are focused on paid education, because you have a much higher barrier, much more work you have to do. So if you fundamentally understand work as a necessity to achieve whatever you want in life, great, full stop, extreme ownership, that's exactly the core. If you don't even align with that, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, like, I'm not your guy, because it's all about work. It's not about working so hard and tirelessly. It's about working smart, but it all has to do with work. And I'll break down what some of those steps look like. That's why I'm so systems and process oriented, because if you don't do the process, if you stop anyway throughout the process, you will not achieve the result that you want. Like, that is it. So the results that you're looking for come from the work that you're willing to do, not proximity, not paying money, not anything like that. It's just education, paid mentorship and guidance, being in the right rooms can also allow you to achieve results more easily and more quickly, but none of that changes if you don't work, right? I just gave the example of sitting at the right table with the right people, right? To be able to unlock $2 million more of access to capital. That's great. But if you don't work, that's meaningless, right? It makes it easier, but if you're not going to work, all of that is meaningless. All right. So lesson 2, nothing works unless you do. Lesson 3, learning without action is just entertainment. What does that mean? Let me repeat it slowly. Learning without action is just entertainment. What that means is if you spend all your time and energy learning and consuming, that's what I'm saying. If you're paying for a bunch of stuff, you might just be chasing shiny objects over and over and over again for no reason at all. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spotlight each of these. Here's one. How do I do that? Boom. I should have done this earlier. So our first lesson was free education works early, and paid education helps you scale more efficiently and more easily. Number 2, nothing works unless you do. Number 3, learning without action is just entertainment. Like I said, you can spend all your time and energy consuming, show up in Zooms, listening to this course, listening to that podcast, doing all these other things. But unless you take what you are learning and actually do something with it, put it to work, honestly, you're just procrastinating. You're just entertaining yourself. It's cool because maybe you're not into like reality shows and Netflix or sports or whatever. This is your entertainment. It makes you feel productive. That's the worst part about it. It kind of makes you feel productive to show up in Zooms, but for me, fundamentally, I don't want to learn or pay for stuff that doesn't end up with the result for me. And becoming the smartest person in the room used to mean a lot for me back in the day. I was very smart. I mean, I am pretty smart. Engineer, top of my class, like all these good things. However, what I realized is being smart is meaningless, is much like less meaningful than actually putting the little bits that you do know to action. Those that I've seen have massive success aren't always the smartest people in the room. More often than not, the smartest people in the room actually are the ones that stay stuck the longest because they have analysis or paralysis by analysis. They're constantly consuming, looking for the best of the best and whatever. Whereas those that have the most success are those that learn something and just do it and execute on it. The biggest scary part about this is that learning, like I said, feels productive, but it really doesn't achieve anything. And a lot of times people still stick with the learning only because they're afraid of the risk. Well, if you're investing in something, right, you need to learn, but then understand without action, it's meaningless. On the other end of the spectrum, equally or even more dangerous is blind action, right? So one side is you're just constantly learning and not putting to work. The other side is you're not learning anything and you're just taking massive action. In my opinion, neither of those are right. I hear a lot of people spotlight, just take action, just take action. I don't fully agree with that. I think intentional action and educated action is the right way because you're lowering your risk. But on the other end of the spectrum, people who are just constantly consuming, that doesn't do you any good if you're not putting it to work. So in my opinion, I've got a little bit of a rule that I will share as a rule of thumb for you all, depending on where you're at in your investing journey. Kind of have these ratios of learning to work. I say in the beginning, your early stages, when you're starting out and you're just learning something, or you've just started investment strategy or whatever, I think you should be spending 5 hours learning and 1 hour of action. So you're more in the education phase. You are learning a lot more than the action that you're putting in, right? It's a 5 hours of learning, 5 hours of learning to 1 hour of action in the early stages. Then in your mid stages, as you've gotten more knowledge and you're taking some action, you're getting some results, especially if you want to really like fast track the results, it should be more of a 1-to-1 ratio. For every 1 hour you're learning, you should be putting an equal amount of action in, right? Even in this scenario, you can go like a 2-to-1. You could still be learning twice as much as you're executing, or 1-to-2 where you're learning for an hour and then executing twice as much, whatever. But understand it should be pretty similar. You shouldn't just be learning things and just stacking a database, an encyclopedia of education in your head without putting in an equal amount of action, right? There's no point of learning things that you're never going to execute on. So just learn it and do it. Learn the thing you need to, and then do it. This is a perfect example of when you're starting out. This is how my co-living education, you know what? I'm just going to show you guys quite literally what's inside the paid community and why it's designed the way that it is. So there's just a short cheek, just so you guys can just see it if you want, just for the co-living. So you should spend those 5 hours starting out. Let's say you want to invest in co-living, developing your financial freedom mindset, deciding the strategy you're going to deep dive into, deciding the markets that you're going to invest in. And then that's 5 hours right there. Then you take an hour in choosing the market. Great. Then you're learning about the types of properties that you should be buying, right? Like what types of properties are you looking for? How do you find and evaluate those properties, right? Bed, bath, you chose your market, neighborhoods, all these different things. And then you develop your acquisition strategy. How are you going to find and buy those deals? Great. You've learned that. Now go execute one of those acquisition strategies for the type of property and the type of market that you're looking for. Great. Now you're going to ideally find a deal to move forward with. So then you're now at this that close to 1-to-1. This is how I'm going to renovate and furnish a property. Actually, I'd still say 5-to-1. You're going to learn what you should do, how you should find a co-living property, how you should renovate it and furnish it, because you should learn that in before you actually need it, right? And you should learn how to analyze co-living deals. And as I show here, right, whether it's general analysis, you're doing on-market traditional co-living deals, you're buying someone else's existing property, you're going creative finance, you're trying to compare traditional creative, whatever, you should build that up as kind of the final stage of your learning the 5-to-1 ratio. Because at this point, you know what you're doing, You know what you're looking for, where you're looking, what types of properties you're looking for. You know how you're going to find them. You know you're going to renovate and furnish them. You know how to analyze those deals, right? So now you need to go find a property. Your time and effort is finding a property that makes sense for that and then actually analyzing real deals as they come up. And at that point, when you actually put it under contract, that is when you need to start learning some of those other things, right? Okay, well, how do I do the proper due diligence, get the right inspector, get the right this? You could spend all day, every day trying to understand everything and figuring out before you need it, but can be a kind of a waste of time. Same with operations. People ask me all these little detailed questions about, okay, I don't have any co-living properties yet. I don't even know how to analyze them and any of that stuff, right? They don't say that. That's what we get to at the end. But they're asking me about what house rules do I put in my co-living properties in the kitchen to ensure that people are not sharing utensils or like taking utensils over? I'm like, that's a great question when it's relevant for you. That's never going to matter for you unless you actually find and buy a deal. So it's good to keep learning things and ask me all the questions that you want. I'm happy to answer them. But more importantly, develop the foundations, which I told you how to find and buy these deals, and then learn the specific things as you need them. You don't need to learn and master everything in your journey. Otherwise, you will not really be successful. It just takes too long. And I was stuck in that myself. That's why I'm speaking so like emphatically about this, because I was stuck in it. I wanted to learn everything about everything before I felt comfortable taking action. Well, when I said I've learned enough to find and analyze these deals, let's put under contract, and then I will learn the things as I need to. I learned the things that I needed to, because there's no way to learn everything about everything. I did not, like, if I tried to, I would have still been wrong, because I put my first property under contract and we turn up, like the water was shut off. We turn on the water and we walked in, and this wall had the paint, massive bubble, just full of water. There was a water leak in there during the inspection phase, and I had to figure out what I was going to do then and there. So I went into my resources. I talked to my network. We figured out, not that big of a deal. Cut out the drywall, let it dry out. As long as it didn't spread, it was an instant leak, so there was no mold. Fix the pipe, fix the drywall. Seller gave me credits to cover all the costs for that, as opposed to them just doing it. I said, I'll do it, and I want credits for it, right? But like, you can't learn and know every little thing about everything. Otherwise, that is the procrastination that's taken away from your real results and action. All right. I hope that gives you some example of how to consider it. And then later stages, it's very little learning. You're still always learning. That's why I go to masterminds and meetups and all these things. And I'm still part of lots of communities and all that. But for every hour that I spend learning, now I'm doing like 5 hours of execution. Execution takes the majority of my time, because execution is actually one of the best ways to really learn, right? Because you can't learn especially from like the most successful investors, you can't like learn what you need to at a certain level just from other people. You can learn tidbits here and there, but it's really coming through practice, and execution at this point becomes the best possible learning. So the rule of thumb, starting out 5 hours of learning, 1 hour of action. In the middle stages, 1 hour of learning for 1 hour of action. Later stages, 1 hour of learning for 5 hours of action, right? That's kind of the flow you should think about. That's the balance that I recommend. Don't get stuck in just learning, and definitely don't take blind action, because I've seen the terrible side of that. People buying the wrong properties in the wrong markets, and they didn't do the bare minimum education. They just took blind action, especially if they had money. You're almost in a worse position, because now you're just buying something and you've derailed your whole path from the start. So have a good balance. If you want a simple structure, like I said, that's why I showed you the co-living one, and the way I teach is really designed for that. Learn the foundations, do enough to take action, and then learn while you're taking action, and then learn the little details through your action, right? That's why it's designed that way. And you just continue scaling at that point. So learn, then execute, and then execute while you're learning, right? That's kind of the simple way to think about it. Let's talk about number 4. Part 4, focused on direction and focus, is choose a strategy based on your life, right? A lot of people go in and they want to just copy what someone else is doing, or what the marketing is showing them, or what ad hit them at the right time, instead of starting with themselves first. You need to think through, why are you investing in the first place? Like, honestly, some people are very fine with working for the next 40 years and spending little to no time investing. They just earn a bunch of money, they save it, and they invest in the stock market. 40 years later, they'll be financially free, right? They can retire. right? That's the most passive way to do it. And it's the most common, that's educated. And honestly, most people can't do that either, right? Because it's the saving. That's the hard part for people. Saving and then investing and then not touching it for a long enough period of time. Well, in real estate, there's a lot more options because that's not just this one core route, right? Like that's kind of the core route in the stock market. That's what's primarily taught to people. Well, in real estate, you have to really think about, what are you doing all this for? Are you doing this to be wealthy 20 years down the line? Are you doing this to become financially free sooner? Are you doing this because you have a solid amount of extra time that you want to develop more active income? Are you doing this because you have a solid amount of money, you have less time, so you want to either like build your portfolio as a lender, as a co-owner, all these different things. What I mean to say is you have to really think about, where are you at in your journey? Choose something that's in alignment with you. How much time do you have and want to dedicate to this? How much money are you starting off with? And on that money, not just how much you have in savings, but are you making more money than you spend each month? If you're not making more money than you spend each month, your number one priority should be active income. You should be figuring out a way to make more money, whether it's through your job, a second job, or through real estate, right? Bird dogging, perfect example. You need to just add an extra couple $1,000s a month. Maybe bird dogging is the right route for you. Or you say, hey, I don't really care about, like with bird dogging, you're developing the skill set of how to find great deals for buyers. Ideally, buyers that you want to be like in the future, because you're getting money, you're getting paid to learn how to find these deals for these people. And then eventually you buy those deals yourself. But if you want the highest active income route that is out there in the real estate space, the one that I most confidently feel is the most scalable, it's wholesaling cash deals to fix and flip investors. Even when I didn't want to be a fix and flip investor, I knew that there was much more money to be made bird dogging or wholesaling to fix and flip investors because of the way that they get paid, right, in a shorter period of time. As opposed to real estate investors that buy and hold, you get paid over a long period of time. You can't justify 20, 30, 40, $50,000 paydays up front to someone bringing you deals. You can on fix and flip. So really think about, why are you doing this? Active income, or are you focused more on passive income? Are you trying to put in do you have a lot of time? Are you trying to put in a lot of time? Or are you trying to put your money to work, right? Think about those core things. And the issue is, if you just copy someone else, you'll fail. I see this more often than not, where people join like wholesaling and fix and flip communities because that's what the marketing guided them towards. But they're people who they don't have a lot of time and they make a ton of money. And so they're going to put all this time and effort when they're making $500,000 a year, $300,000 a year. They can put all this time and effort to make an extra $5,000, $10,000 a month as a wholesaler. That's probably not going to happen for them. It's not enough of a driver for them to succeed, and they don't have enough time they want to dedicate to it. The best thing for those people is to take their income and then invest it, whether it's buying and holding real estate for themselves or invest even more passively with someone like me as the operator on the deals, right? We find the deals, we analyze them, we do all the work, they bring the money, and then we own the benefits together. But they're stuck spending tens of thousands of dollars, months, years, pursuing wholesaling because that's what the marketing told them to do, when they didn't really take time to reflect on what is it they actually want to accomplish. So if you need active income, focus on that. If you have money, really think through how much time you want to dedicate to it and what is that you're looking for. Don't let the marketing, the ads, right? Don't let these amazing ads that people put out there distract you from what you're actually trying to accomplish. It's easier to just copy someone else and what they say, as opposed to really thinking and reflecting on, what do you need right now? That's going to be a big part of the financial freedom or the real estate freedom roadmap. Is I'm going to have a quiz type thing to help guide you based on where you're starting out and what you're looking to accomplish and what I think is the best path for you to pursue. I'm going to try to give so much of that away absolutely for free in the community. So if that's something you want to be part of, you know how to get that. So just think about what fits your life right now, right? Just think about to the core, what fits your life right now. Take time to pause and reflect on that and then execute on that, not what someone else told you should do. Lesson 5. Define your goal and then focus on the skills that you need first, right? So if you say, for example, I have money and I want to be a real estate buyer, right? and I'm focused on passive income, right? I want to buy and hold real estate because I have the money, I have some time, right? I don't have all day every day, but I have some time. And I want to take my active income and turn it into passive income. I'm taking the money that I'm making from work, I'm investing into assets. So those assets can give me long-term cash flow, monthly cash flow. So I never have to work again. I no longer have to trade my time money. Great. You have your strategy, right? You get even more focused than that. Like co-live, you get into the details of how you're going to find deals, how you're going to manage them, all that. But if you already know that, right, you want to buy and hold real estate, great. As long as it's in alignment with where you're at and what you're trying to accomplish, excellent. Set your goals. I've already got tons of trainings on that for you guys. I want $10,000 a month of cash flow. I'm going to do it the co-living route. I'm going to buy deals creatively financed. I'm going to raise the money for those deals. I'm going to operate them as co-living, right? The 3 C's, my super investor cheat code, literally everything about my investment strategy boils down to those 3 C's. Those are the skills you need to develop. You need to develop the skill of how to find deals, how to make them creative, how to analyze them, how to effectively buy them, how to do your due diligence, how to raise money for them, how to operate them. It's a lot of steps. I mean, it's not like it's freaking like I said, you got to work. If you're not willing to work, then just put your money in the stock market or just come to terms with you're not willing to work to achieve financial freedom, which the vast majority, like the tiniest percentage of population ever really does. Even in our own country, like the vast majority of people never achieve financial freedom, especially at an earlier age. I am not the normal. I am an anomaly to have been fully financially free before I turned 30 years old, starting with literally nothing. A family that immigrated here. My mom worked multiple jobs as a single mom, barely made ends meet. I studied extremely hard, got scholarships, got a great degree in engineering because that was very intentional. I wanted money fast, decided to serve our country, and then had built a massive portfolio all before 30 years old. Now 31, I'm living my best life, fully financially free, enjoying all my time, all that good stuff. Like, understand, I'm not the normal though. Like, you might see me a lot, but I'm not like what everyone's out here doing. Someone's lying. If someone's telling you what I'm doing is normal, they're probably trying to sell you some shit that's not going to work out for you, unfortunately, especially if they're telling you you don't have to put in work. I'm telling you right now, you want to achieve these results, you're going to have to put in work to learn and execute on these things over and over and over again. Someone's telling you that's not true, follow them. I don't know what to say. Good luck is what I can say. With that being said, early on, once you've defined your goal and it's in alignment with your investment strategy, right, based on your current life goals, current life situation, your overall life goals, focus on those skills, focus on developing experience, focus on network. That's why when I was buying real estate by house hacking small multifamily properties in my local market, and I wanted to start buying deals out of state, I didn't just immediately start buying deals out of state. What I started doing was I went and I connected with like 3 real investors in that market, and I started learning from them. What are you looking to buy? Where are you looking to buy? Like, where is Huntsville, Alabama, right? So where in Huntsville, Alabama are you looking to buy? There were buy and hold investors. So where are you looking to buy? What types of deals are you looking for? How much do you want them to cost? And then my job was to go find those deals and get paid when I brought them to them. It was awesome. I made some extra income, but more importantly, I decided I could, in theory, just try to go buy these deals. I could have just done that, but I invested in my skills and experience of finding these great deals that proven buyers in this market wanted, because that was not a market for me yet. I just knew I wanted to do that. So I basically got all of it through bird dogging, the skills, the experience, the network, and more importantly, actually, well, equally as importantly, I also got paid a bunch of money. That meant less onto what that meant for me. Like, it didn't really change my life financially. What it did do is prove to me that, dang, this was such a good deal that someone else paid me more money to buy it than if I just bought it myself. Does that make sense? Bird dogging is like this insane cheat code because quite literally, you are getting paid to bring someone a deal. So if the deal was $100,000, you can sell it to someone else for $110,000. They were willing to pay you more than what you could have bought the deal for. What better validation do you need from someone who's experienced already in that market that's willing to pay you a decent amount of money to bring them a deal that they want to buy that they have to pay more for than you? And whenever you decide to stop doing that for them, you do it for yourself. It's amazing. Later on, right, depending on where you're at, I'd recommend, right, we talked about skills, experience, and network starting out, and active income is a nice side benefit of that. Later on, the skills you need to develop are more ownership skills, maybe more capital raising skills, maybe more tapping into your equity in deals, building a team, things that are more scalable, right? Just understand the skills you need to develop for where you're at and where you're looking to get to. If you have the full path, where are you at? What's the next step that you need? What's the next steps that you need? That's why for the vast majority of people that I help, I'm like, understand co-living because I think it's the best and ties into everything else. Then add creative finance, then add raising money. If you were to ask me of the 3 C's, how should anyone progress? It's always start with your understand where you're at currently and what you should be doing. Wholesaling, bird dogging, fix and flipping, capital partnering, being the buyer, all that stuff. But if it's anything of the 3 C's, co-living, learn the best investment strategy first, where you get the highest returns, the most accessible deals, and then enhance those deals, make them even better and more scalable through creative financing. Buy them for lower down payments, lower interest rates, get even more bang for your buck with on top of co-living. And then once money is going to be a bottleneck for you, once you cannot fund these deals yourself anymore, then leverage capital raising to buy more and more of these deals using less and less, if not none of your own money. That's the progression I'd recommend at the highest level. But each of those core pillars has their own specific skills need to be developed, right? And I broke down what that looks like essentially for co-living. I visually showed you guys what that would look like for co-living. All right. So my opinion, right? Get your investment strategy. We just talked about that previously. Based on where you're at, define your goals, and then develop the roadmap of the skills that you need to develop and develop those skills, and then focus on scale later. Let's talk about lesson 6. This is probably the biggest one that I see being in the rooms with similar people for like 3+ years at this point. Literally people who have been my brothers and sisters in this journey. Literally, we started around the same time in 2022. And even those who started buying real estate in 2020 when I bought my first deal, or those who started investing even before me, one of the biggest things that I see lead to almost the worst possible result for people, not to add anticipation, but so one of the biggest things that I see that derail the vast majority of people, especially lead to burnout, overwhelm, lack of results, all that stuff, is what they're not doing. You got to pick a path and you got to stay with it long enough. If you're putting all of this time and energy and effort into something, and then 3 months later, 1 month later, you reset to something completely different, that's completely derailing your momentum. One of the best benefits of any type of investing, especially real estate investing, where it's not just about like in the stock market, your money compounds on itself, right? It's beautiful because the money that you put in $100,000, next year it's $110,000. Your growth is from that $110,000. So it grows even faster. It grows even faster and faster and faster. Your money compounds on itself with time. That's the stock market. Well, with real estate, there's a lot more than that. Yes, that's part of it. Your cash flow, your appreciation, debt pay down, like everything improves with time. But the biggest cheat code is your skills are compounding on themselves. Your skills, your network, your resources available to you are compounding on themselves. But if this week you're focused on Section 8 and you're learning everything you can there, but you're not really taking action, and then next month or next quarter, you're focused on co-living, so you're restarting, now you're doing co-living, and then 3 months later, you pivot to RV parks, and then mobile home parks, and then large multifamily, and then small multifamily, and then you want to wholesale, then you want to fix it. All that shit is leading to 3-month burnout with no freaking results to show for it. The best thing you could possibly do is just stick with a path. And that's why I put this later, not in the beginning. Stick with the path that is in alignment with your current situation, the strategy that makes sense for your current situation and the goals that you want to achieve, and defining the skills that you need to develop over a long enough period of time, instead of developing one skill here, one skill there, one skill there. Like, that does not work. That does not work well, right? The vast majority of people who are constantly pivoting, it doesn't work. I will highlight that in the very beginning of your investing journey, it's different than what I just said. In the very beginning, you could either choose a path that makes a lot of sense for you, right? Just choose it and stick with it because it makes a lot of sense. That's my super investor cheat code, right? The 3 C's. I chose that. I really pivoted and went all in on that because of the fact that it made a lot of sense by the numbers, like financially and accessibility of deals made a lot of sense. And I saw where the trend is going, and I've been able to capitalize on it and then massively grow in that space. One of the largest co-living operators out there right now, because I've stuck with this thing. But if I tried to pivot all the time, it'd be very difficult. But on the same note, 5 years ago, when I bought my first property, my goal was to house hack small multifamily in my local market using VA loans, FHA loans, and all that. So understand, as you develop more knowledge, you're obviously able to change your path. But if you're just constantly resetting and going back to zero in your momentum, that's going to kill all of your progress. That does not mean you have to stick to something forever, especially if it's not panning out for you or you learn something that's even more advantageous. But just constantly pivoting and pivoting and pivoting and pivoting results in little to no actual result. And I'm certain there's got to be plenty of you watching this live or later that totally understand what I'm talking about. When you're constantly pivoting, it happened to me when I was already joined the Sub2 community with 27 rentals, doing my stuff, raising some money on a small scale, doing some creative financing on a small scale. Well, I join and then I'm distracted by every challenge, every Zoom, every other amazing success everyone else is having, or, you know, the people who are posting about it, the success they're having, because that's all you see is the good stuff, usually not the bad stuff. And then pursuing that and that, like that literally my progression was, all right, let's stay with cash wholesaling. All right, let's go to creative wholesaling. Okay, let's add large multifamily. Okay, you know, RV parks might make sense. I had to really just reset and recalibrate and say, who am I? I'm fundamentally someone who cares about financial freedom and passive income. So that comes from buying and holding assets. So what's the best way for me to achieve my results that is scalable, accessible, and maximize my returns? That's literally where the 3 C's came from: co-living, capital raising, and creative finance, right? And they've just gotten better and better and better with all of those things. I'm not resetting, right? But the cool part later, when you get a lot of results and success in what you are doing, some of those skills translate really beautifully into bigger things. The same skills that have allowed me to build a massive, financially freeing co-living portfolio using none of my own money is also the same thing that is allowing me now to get into those multifamily that I wanted 3 years ago, get into those RV parks that I wanted, because I developed some of the most important skills like raising capital. And that is a skill that a lot of people need, even though they're good at finding and operating properties. They may not be as good as I am at raising money for those deals. So those skills can benefit you over the long term, but they cannot benefit you unless you dedicate yourself in the interim. If I just gave you some rule of thumb, right? Focus on committing to something that is in alignment with where you're at and what you're looking to accomplish for at least 6 months. If truly after 6 months, it's a waste of time and all that stuff, fine, you understood that and now move on. But if you're constantly chasing every shiny object, every freaking challenge, every Zoom, every mentor, every whatever, you're never going to have real results, right? And that doesn't mean you shouldn't pivot and cut losses early if you realize, wow, I paid for a wholesaling thing, but I should be buying and holding. I need to learn more about that. That's a fine, logical pivot. But I'm saying if this thing made sense to you because of where you're at and what you're looking to accomplish, and you haven't learned anything substantially different that shows you there's a better way, then just at least commit to that thing and give it a try, because it might be what you needed, right? So don't fall into the sunk cost fallacy. If you already spent money and waste time and it's not panning out for you, or there truly is something better, fine, that makes sense to pivot. But otherwise, just commit to the thing. There's no perfect path at the end of the day. Just commit to the thing. Commit to something, build the skills, and get some real results from that. Because momentum only shows up after consistency. Like, it does not happen day one. When I was going to retire in 2024, it's basically exactly what Pace told me, because I quit my job because I was done. I had $20+ million of real estate. Said, yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm going to stop with real estate. I'm going to just spend more time, even more time with my family. Well, the reality of it is I was spending 10 hours less in the W-2, so I could spend up to 10 hours more with my family and not change my life substantially, like in the work side. So I could at least keep doing what I was doing, or I could say, hey, I'll take half that with my family and then half that with work stuff. And the reality of it was, the biggest lesson from Pace was, why would you stop now when you have all the momentum on your side? You've been crushing this thing for so long. You have the easiest path now to growing and scaling to unbelievable levels, to be able to create the legacy and impact that you truly want. Why would you stop now? Don't trade all 10 hours that you got from the W-2 world into real estate, right? Balance it to what makes sense for you, but don't completely stop, because I have all the momentum. Everything is easier now. I'm more knowledgeable. I can find more deals. I have more relationships. I have more access to capital. I have like all these things that are compounded for the years that make this entire journey easier and easier. It's why with equally, if not less effort in 2025, I had insane results. In 2026, it's going to be even bigger. In 2027, it's going to be even bigger, because I'm still doing the things fundamentally that are necessary for me to achieve my results. The next core thing we're going to focus on, kind of is bucketed into what I think is execution and identity, right? So just to think about it real fast as a short recap, layer one was all about removing excuses. Free education works early. You can learn almost anything you need to through free stuff. Lesson 2 under there was nothing works unless you do. Lesson 3, learning without action is just entertainment. The next layer of that is what I call direction and focus, right? Choosing what you're going to do. Lesson 4 was choose a strategy based on your life. Lesson 5, define your goals and focus on skills first. Lesson 6, pick one path and stay long enough. Lesson 7 is where we start layer 3, which is execution and identity. This one was a hard one for me. I think this one's a hard one for a lot of people. And I understand why. Part of it is because some people take it to the extreme, and I think they're just being ridiculous and wasting your time for no reason. But the other part is we just have a lot of limiting beliefs. We're our own worst enemy, I guess, when it comes to this one. So lesson 7 is adopt the identity before changing tactics, or before chasing tactics. So adopt the identity before chasing tactics. What does that really mean? It's almost impossible to be a successful real estate investor unless you believe you can be a successful real estate investor. You know the phrase, whether you say you can or say you can't, you're right, right? Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right, right? Like, if you don't believe it's possible for you, it's not going to happen. I could have told myself, and I had to do this every phase of the journey, and I've challenged us, I've fought with this one so many different times. In the last 5 years, my life has exploded in the best way possible. And just every year, it's new problems, new challenges, new identities I got to adopt, new things I got to believe, and bad, like, self-limiting beliefs I have to destroy and overcome. And it's really hard to destroy parts of your life, especially what got you there is not always what's going to get you to the next level. So, for example, even though my family was in poverty, barely made ends meet throughout the majority of my childhood, because of my mom and because of myself, I was so confident that I could be really smart and get scholarships, even though my family couldn't support me financially. I knew I could get the scholarships I needed to then get a successful career. At the time I was a doctor, but whatever, just go to school, get a successful career that would allow me to not have to work multiple jobs like my mom did to make equally, if not more money than she did, right? I had to believe that was possible because everything around me wasn't really showing that, right? There was the belief system that allowed me to put in the work, to study really hard, even though everyone thought I was super smart. What they forgot or what they didn't see was all the damn work that went into being super smart. It was actually the most beautiful thing my wife ever told me, because she was the one who really saw it through a lot of, we've been together since high school and college. She's the one who really told me, like, most people think I'm really smart. And I'm not going to say that I'm not pretty smart, like I'm maybe a little bit more gifted, but the reality of it is they don't see how hard that I work, right? Like, I am smart because I work incredibly hard, not because I'm just naturally gifted, I have photographic memory and all that stuff. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense, that it was more of I'm not just naturally gifted. It was, I work really hard to be considered gifted in this thing. And that's the identity you guys need to adopt. If you want to be this thing, you got to act that way. Smart people, at least really smart people, not the ones who are like privileged, right? If you're privileged with photographic memory, if you're privileged, like you can have a belief of, I will be financially free. And I had that belief. There's no way before 30 years old, you become financially free unless you truly believe it's possible for you, even if you don't know how it's going to happen. And that's my whole journey. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I was figuring it out as I went. And that fundamental belief was the most important part to keep me motivated, even though it's not designed to be just for motivation. Motivation only takes so far, but that belief, that identity that I adopted was what motivated me when things got extremely hard, no matter what. And things are obviously always hard in life, no matter what your life looks like. The only difference is, yeah, you can be smart, even without that identity, if you have photographic memory, or you can be financially free or be wealthy without ever having to work for it or believing it's possible for you if your family already comes from a lot of money. Well, the vast majority of you guys, you're not watching my YouTube video because you got in a silver spoon, or, like that's not why you're here right now. You know you have to work. And the biggest thing I tell you is, if you want to be a successful real estate investor, you have to adopt the identity of a successful real estate investor. You have to believe that it is possible for you. If you want to be financially free and you want to know it's possible for you, you have to adopt the identity and believe that it is possible for you to be financially free, a person that is financially free. If you don't, you're just fighting an uphill battle primarily against yourself. Like, it's just a fact. Because that identity, right, is there to not necessarily just motivate you, but it's the driver of your behavior, right? Because when you say, I'm a successful real estate investor, you have to ask yourself, instead of what should I do next, you ask yourself, what does a successful real estate investor do? And then you act like that. If you have a decision, and let's say you want to be healthy and you want to be like shredded, super health, that's your main thing. You have to say, I am a physically fit person. So then when it comes to, should I eat that cake and that chips from 8 to 10 p.m., or I didn't take a walk or work out, should I do that? It's kind of easier. I'm not saying it's easy to make the decision, but it's easier to know what should you do because you are that physically fit, healthy person. What does a physically fit, healthy person do? They take that walk, they meditate, they go to sleep on time, they do all those things that you need to be that healthy person that you've adopted the identity of. Same with real estate investing, right? You're going to learn when you ask yourself, should I be in this Zoom? Should I be in this Zoom? Should I be in all these random ass Zooms? Or should I put in the work that I need to, that I know exactly I should do? Should I go look for more deals? Should I analyze those deals? Should I make offers on those deals? What does a successful real estate investor do? Because if your identity is a successful real estate investor and you adopt that and you believe that, then it's easy for your behavior to match the identity because it's easy to ask the right question and know how you should answer it as the person that is a successful real estate investor. This is so cringy now that I think about it. But a couple years ago, I used to think to myself, especially my first year on Sub 2, WWPD. What would Pace do? What would Pace do in this situation? And funny enough, it wasn't about real estate investing or tactics or assets. I felt very good about that before, during, after Sub 2, all that stuff. It was more so, is this the highest and best use of my time? Is this the thing I should be focusing all of my time and energy on? Or is this a lower leverage, lower dollar per hour task that I should offload and I should focus on the bigger picture? I still struggle with that all the time, but that's what would Pace do for me? As someone is able to operate a lot of businesses, get a lot of success, but he's not doing all the operations for everything, and he's very highly leveraged and highly skilled. That's how I have to think about it. That's yours. What would a successful real estate investor do? If you want something about tactics, skills, work, what would Michael do? If that's, I don't care. I'm not trying to put myself in there, but if that helps you, or super investors like me, what would a super investor do? Right? Whatever it is, whatever you need, just ask yourself and just make that decision because you pretty much already know what you should do. You're just not believing that's possible for you. So you're not adopting identity. You're not allowing your behaviors to match your identity. Or maybe it is a discipline thing and you know what you should do and you just choose not to do it over and over again. And if that's you, then honestly, I had to tell myself this too early on. Just like move on. Like you don't have to be financially free. You don't have to be a successful real estate investor. You don't have to do any of this shit. You don't have to like kill yourself and work really hard to achieve results that doesn't really drive you enough to put in the work and sacrifice in the short term for the long-term benefit. You like don't have to do that. You can just enjoy that same time, money, and effort that you're spending towards mentorships and all these other things. Just enjoy your life with it. Go on an extra vacation with your family. Do all the cool stuff with that money and time. Don't waste it. And then when you know what you should do, you're not going to do it. That might be hard for some people to hear. And that's the reality of it. I think that is what differentiates the vast majority of people is they know that it's going to suck and it's going to be boring, but they have to do it to achieve the results. I love when people tell me, man, you're just so lucky that you love analyzing deals. I don't even know how to verbalize how stupid that is. You think I like spreadsheets and I build them and all that stuff, but you think I truly like to sit there and analyze 100 investments or bring in 100 investment opportunities, analyze 25% of them that somewhat fit my buy box, and then make offers on the 5 that will be the ones like if we're putting offers on 5, maybe the 1 to 3 that will end up buying. You think I love doing that? That's like so stupid. Like like some people love going to the gym, but it's like more about the result and what it means to you after the fact. It's not about loving doing the boring, repeating work and that mindset of thinking that people just love it and they're so lucky because that's not how it works. You got to understand what your skills are and match what you're doing to your skills. But at the same time, you have to understand the boring, repeated work is what ends up with the results that will give you the life that you love. It's not about loving every aspect of the work that you do. It's about loving yourself enough to adopt the identity and execute on the result that you truly want to execute on and pursue. I hope that makes sense. So the first part of execution identity, right? Lesson 7, adopt the identity before chasing tactics. I'll say on the extreme end, and I'll keep this very short, very short. If someone's telling you to visualize for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I mean, shit, I don't know. Maybe that works for them. I think that time is better spent just like working on the thing that you should do and just briefly adopting the identity, saying you want this thing, committing to it, and then just do the damn thing that you should do, not spend an extra 3 hours every day visualizing the life of your dreams and feeling it. And who gives a shit? That's almost another form of procrastination. Just do the damn work. Review find deals, analyze them, and make offers if you want to buy real estate. You don't need to visualize that shit. Just do the thing. If you're missing a skill, invest your time and energy to learning that skill and then execute on that damn skill. Don't sit there visualizing all damn day. That's crazy. It's such a waste of time. I don't even understand. I mean, I can't, maybe there's a niche case where it makes sense. People I'm talking to, it's a system. It's a process. You do the damn process. Once you visualize it one time, how many times do you need to visualize this damn thing? Just do the work that you need to do. And if you're feeling unmotivated, put yourself in rooms of other people who are doing it or at a higher level than you or at the same level as you. Or even worse, see the people who are not achieving the results that they want and commit to not being one of those damn people, because that sucks. Like I said, don't avoid the work, do the thing. Adopt the identity, because the identity is what drives your behavior. And then it's very simple to ask that identity, your identity, the right question. And the answer is so obvious. The answer is so obvious. Should you be checking your damn emails or should you be looking at that deal? What do you think? If I got to tell you that, then maybe it's not, maybe real estate's a little complicated for you. I don't tell people real estate's great as an engineer because real estate investing is not engineering. The math is pretty easy. But if that's too hard for you to figure out what should you be doing, that, maybe it is a little difficult. Let's move on to lesson 8. The next part of this, master the fundamentals through repetition. This ties into everything I just talked about. Obviously, I built this list. It's my list, right? So this all ties into each other. It all blends and it all is somewhat sequential, but master the fundamentals through repetition. Quite honestly, the fundamentals of anything never really change. Whether I'm buying my first deal or I'm buying my 10th or I'm building a portfolio of $25 million, fundamentally, it's the same skills, at least for certain components of it. You can't really get people are so worried about scaling to $100,000 months and 20 or 100 properties or all that. I'm like, bro, if you develop the skills and do all the things you need to get this one first deal, that's what makes it easier to get the next one and the 10th one. It's fundamentally the same shit. If you need to buy real estate, right, you need to understand the process and develop the skills for each layer of this. You want to buy 10 deals, it's the same thing as buying your first deal. Find deals online, look for opportunities, analyze them, make those offers, put them under contract, fund them, and operate them. The difference is if you're trying to scale massively, right, you're going to have to develop additional skills, right? Okay, well, I can no longer fund them through banks or just my own money. I got to develop capital raising. Or, hey, I want to be able to buy multiple properties at one time, or I need to develop a team or whatever, right? There's more skills, but it's still fundamentally the same skills to know how to find deals and know if it's a good deal, whether it's your first, your 10th, or your 100th. The difference is if you do it really well for your first and compound on that, it just gets easier and faster every single time. Like I said, there's going to be more skills to get to higher levels, but fundamentally it's the same stuff. And your scalability, focusing on skill then improves speed, but it's not a requirement to do it. So focus on the skills they need to develop and understand that it's going to be boring. It's going to be repeatable. It is what it is. But you don't get better by just learning more. You get better by doing the same work better. Does that make sense? That's been my entire journey. I understood the very simple roadmap. I've given you guys hours of this training on what the process looks like, the full process and the 3 core pillars. Here's the process. Do the process. If you're missing something, learn more about it. And then you expand on that to then scale. But fundamentally, starting out, it's all the same stuff. Now we're going to talk about the final layer, which in my opinion is mindset and the end game. It's a different form of mindset. It's the mindset that it's the mindset around the end game of all of this stuff. So layer 4, mindset and end game. Lesson 9 is you do not need to have your mentor's goals. What does that mean? Right? Like, a lot of you guys watching this are probably thinking, I don't really need $25 million of real estate. I don't need $25,000+ of cash flow or hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, definitely a year, built wealth building for you. The vast majority of people that I talk to, and this is going to come into lesson 10, but the vast majority are not really reflecting on what they want and what the life of their dreams look like and what it's going to cost to achieve that. They're just focused on what their mentor is doing. If you're like me, that was my biggest struggle. I always focused at the cream of the crop, and I was dissatisfied unless I was achieving what they were able to accomplish. And the messed up part about that is, well, they might be in chapter 20 of their journey where they've compounded these skills and knowledge and resources and all that. And I'm just at chapter 3, but I'm comparing their $100 million goal for the year to make that my goal. And the worst part about that, especially if you have results, is you get stuck so much in the gap. I'm focused on, hey, I just bought in 2023 $10 million of real estate using none of my own money, and it's cash flowing me $10,000+ a month. I was so focused, though, and dissatisfied with that result because I was stuck in the gap of, hey, I'm $90 million short of what was able to accomplish by literally the top person at the top, or even other people, right? The other leaders who are doing 50 million or a hotel or a this or a that, right? Comparison is like the thief of all joy, right? That's the phrase. And comparison, it puts unnecessary pressure on you and it forces you to live in the gap and not the gain of all that you've been able to accomplish. So instead of thinking of the 90 million that I was short of, instead of being grateful for the 10 million, for me at that point, that's what I should have been focused on. I shouldn't have been so stressed out and the way that I was and feeling like I did not accomplish enough. And for a lot of you guys, you're hearing this, you're like, $10 million in a year, Michael, what the hell? I'd be happy to get $1 million. I'd be happy to get my first property. Exactly. Don't compare yourself to me because I'm years potentially, or at least a lot more experience and effort beyond where you're at. Focus on what I've been talking about. Choose your strategy that aligns with where you're at. Identify your goals. Identify the roadmap to those goals. And then to either develop the skills or put in the work needed to make progress. This one is so huge because this is one of the biggest things that I see people struggle with and why they're constantly pursuing and chasing all these other things because they're no longer, they never take enough time to reflect on what is it that they want, right? What is the ideal life that they want and how much is it going to cost them to get there? And if they decide to change their mind and they think it's $10,000 a month and they achieve that, like I did, and then you decide, well, maybe let's do 15 or 20 or plus or whatever, you're allowed to change that, but at least base it on what is realistic in reality for you. Otherwise, you're going to spend more time being upset. Like, it's so hard to do any of this stuff in the first place. Like I said, 10% of the population ever does. But it's so much harder when you're stressed out, feeling inadequate, comparing yourself to others who are 15 chapters ahead of you, compare yourself to people who maybe started with more money, started with more skills, started with more whatever, right? Like, it is so difficult. The vast majority of people I talk to, like I had to do this. I had to reflect and realize my mentor, right, is on the path to billionaire status. Do I want to be a billionaire? Would that change my life? I don't give a fuck about being a billionaire. Why would I care about being a billionaire? My lifestyle costs me less than $10,000 a month, right? And we already have more than we need. And I tell people, I'm 31 years old. So if in 5 years I decide I want to be a billionaire, well, fuck it. I'll be a billionaire and I'll work towards that in 5 years from now. But right now, I'm not going to work so hard on becoming a billionaire, which does not change my life, when in reality, it's going to come at the cost of things that really do matter to me. Spending the time with my family, enjoying the fruits of my labor, and just enjoying the journey, and just being okay with accomplishing 70% of my potential in my career wise if it means I get to be 100% of my potential in the things that matter to me most. My family, right? Maybe 70%, like 100% for my family, 70% for health, 70% to 50% for work. I'm cool with that trade-off because in 10 years from now, I guarantee you, I will never regret the amount of time I spent with my family relative to the amount of money I could have made. Because in 10 years from now, I would be willing to give up every single fucking dollar to get years back with my kids when they're 20 months and 6 weeks old to enjoy this journey. When I'm sitting there with my baby and we're spending an hour and a half and I stop no matter what I'm doing in the morning, I don't care if it's for my health, for whatever the hell it is, when I stop all that shit and go get my baby when she's awake, go get little baby Mila when she's awake, walk into the room with a smile, not stress, walk into the room with a smile. We talk for a little bit, we slowly play, we slowly wake up, go brush our teeth together, right? Go brush our teeth and all that stuff. Go slowly, like just slowly start our day, drink my coffee, drinks her little warm milk, it's her coffee. She eats her little protein pancakes to my meal preps. I eat my little protein egg bites that we meal prep. Like, I will never regret those moments 10 years from now. But I will regret trading that shit off, missing out key moments to make more money that means nothing to my life. If my life fundamentally required me to make $100,000 a month to be happy, well, I don't know. That's cool. Like, I can't even fathom. I don't even know what I would do with that. I already have everything I want. And I know this comes from a place of privilege, but the privilege came from a place of working extremely hard. The privilege doesn't just, like, I wasn't given the privilege. I worked for the privilege. And I have the privilege to choose how my life operates. If you can't spend an hour and a half with your child because you have to work and develop active income, I get that shit. I'm not mad at you. I'm saying when it's a choice and you're choosing to pursue things that are way higher, just make sure it's the right choice. Because I was talking to one of my other mentors, Jerry Norton, the other day. He clearly said, you can only be 100% in one of these real areas. Some people will tell you can do all of it, and maybe you can if you're superhuman. Pace, maybe of all people, can, because he's a superhuman robot that functions with less sleep and is just so good at compartmentalizing and executing. I don't think I can do that, right? And I'd rather, if I'm going to make a mistake, I'd rather do less in the work and career side and not make those mistakes with my family, the thing that matters more to me. And so for all you guys who reach out to me individually, I'm sorry, I do all this shit for you guys and group-wise and provide all these free courses and all that, literally intentionally to help as many of you guys as possible, but within the constraints of the life that I want to live with my family. Because for me, what do? Slow mornings with my family. I work for a couple hours on the things I really enjoy. We go take a walk in the morning, a walk in the afternoon, enjoy healthy, good foods, whether we're buying it or cooking it. I like to watch sports. I like to barbecue. Is it an inefficient use of time? I don't give a fuck if I like to do that, right? Life isn't designed to be a robot and hyper optimized towards career and financial success or even impact success. I'm driven a lot by helping you guys, right? That's why I love when you guys give me feedback. There's nothing more warming to my heart than helping someone make $10,000 that changes their life, or they apply one principle that just changes their entire trajectory. I love that stuff. But my desire to impact you all, quite honestly, is not more important than my desire to have an impact and be the best father and husband that I possibly can be. This does not come from me being this way forever. This comes from me doing the exact opposite for the middle part of my journey because I was so hyper-focused on finances, even after I was financially free, because that's what my mentors were doing. That's what they were doing. They had families, they had beautiful families. They're so focused on growing and scaling, and I don't know what their goals were and why they need that, but that's what their goals are. Doesn't have to be my goals. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, if you want to spend $100,000 a month, you need fancy cars, you know, these toys, great. I want that for you. Like if you want the super yacht at some point, I want that for you if that's what you want. For me, money at this point is materially has no impact. We have the house that we love, at least for now. Have a beautiful, supportive, amazing wife. The best two little adorable babies who I want to spend all my time and energy with, especially during these years, because I know they'll be in school. And then I'm literally about to start crying because then at some point they'll be in high school and they're not going to want to spend time with us. They're going to be 18 and they're going to go to school or they're going to go pursue work. They're going to do all these things. I'll be out of the house. And then what am I going to do? Sit on my fucking money bags while my kids, their entire life flashed before my eyes? And that happened with like the first 15-ish months of my baby girl Mila's life. Thankfully, I quit the W-2 right then and there, so I had a lot more time. But the regret that I have of seeing how fast you think you have more time with them than you do, and the regret of seeing how fast that period goes, I'm not making that mistake anymore. And I haven't been for the last several months. I'm not making that mistake anymore. Definitely with my 6-week-old little baby boy, Carter. I know what matters to me. No work, no extra money is more important than my time with my family, enjoying my life with them, focusing on my health, all those things. I'll still make money. I'll still continue to work. My biggest addiction is work. So it's very easy for me to work all day, every day. Maybe that's my biggest cheat code, my biggest privilege compared to, I genuinely have no problem working. I will work for a long time. And it's my biggest vice, I guess we'll say. It's my alcoholism. It's my gambling. I don't know, whatever. At least that's what makes me money. But for the life that I want and the things that I care about, it's a massive detriment. So I have to just remind myself, it's all about balance, right? I'm not saying I could spend all day, every day with my family either. My wife already knows I am the best father and husband when I'm not with my family all day, every day. Because I cannot compartmentalize as well. I need to still work. I get these things done so then I can be the best father. And when I'm filling up my magic, like filling up my cup, my family, that also makes me the best worker and gives me the most enjoyment in life overall. So if you're ever feeling like, oh, I should push for these other people's goals, don't feel that way. That's why I say you don't need your mentor's goals. And I had to realize that with people I mentor as well. Like, yeah, you want $25 million of real estate in less than 5 years, you know your own money. Well, that's not the case for everyone. Some people want a property. They want to change their entire family's trajectory with one property. Or they want to be able to buy a couple, have $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month coming in. Whatever that is, understand why that's your case. If you don't understand how to do that, don't worry. I've got a whole free training in my community, my free community for you guys. So it was part of my Super Investors paid mentorship. I just give it all to everyone for free because I think it's so fundamental for everyone, regardless if real estate or whatever is your path. You should understand your budget and your financial freedom path, right? And what your goals are, and tether your goals to what you actually need to live the life of your dreams, right? The whole point is to build the life that you want and then save and invest your way there. Don't miss your entire life pursuing a financial goal to achieve the life, like to miss out on the life that actually mattered to you. It's a balance of the two. And I had to learn that stuff, but thankfully, I still got plenty of time. I'm learning this stuff. I learned this stuff from people who are wildly successful, decades older than me, even billionaires who have all the money in the world, could buy anything. They have no joy. They have no family. Their kids don't care about them. Like, they don't care to interact with them. Because as Jerry Norton told me, and he's great, like, he's different, right? But he's not one of those guys. He probably would admit that he wishes he was more present and less work because he probably has more financial means than needs to. But I can't apply that to him. I don't know. So, but he told me, you don't become best friends with your high schoolers when they're high schoolers. It's already too fucking late. Become best friends with your high schoolers when they're babies, right? You don't not become best friends with your kids later in life because you choose to or you want to. It's already too late. They've already grown a whole life without you. You do that early on. And I know not everyone has that ability to do that. My mom could not have done that. She had to work multiple jobs, just barely make ends meet. That was more important. And a lot of you guys are dealing with that. You have to work to be able to do this. But at a certain point, right, this was the mindset, especially around the end game and financial freedom, you have to really evaluate and think about what you want and then how much you're willing to sacrifice of that on the journey. And then when you get to your goals, is it worth pushing for 100% more when it comes to the cost of the things that you truly say you care about? And it's hard. I struggle with it every day. I got all the books and therapy and all that to figure this out. It's a hard thing. It's a better problem to have than not having enough money and struggling. Absolutely. But in the future, in 10 years from now, if I did not have the life with my kids that I wanted to, it's all my fault because I had a choice. That's almost worse when you have the choice than when you're forced into that. And that's the best part. Do not compare yourself to other people, to your mentors and all that. Do not compare yourself for the sake of, I need the same goals that they have. No. Use that as the possibility of what you can accomplish, but not the obligation what you need to pursue or be down on yourself. That's the biggest way to have no result, is to just be so down on yourself you destroy yourself mentally. Like I said, just because it's possible doesn't mean it's required. And more importantly, or just as importantly, make sure that what you're pursuing is actually in alignment with the life that you want. Please make sure that's the case. That's one of the biggest advice I give as someone who's gone through this journey, right? Maybe I'm talking to you and it's like, hey, nice for you to say. I get it. But I made a lot of sacrifice and there's a lot of regrets. And I get to learn from people with decades of experience on what they would do differently. Or, well, some people have too much pride and they'll never admit it, but you can see it in their life. And I feel terrible. But if that's the life they want, for me, I would feel terrible in that situation. That's the life that they want. Great. Enjoy your super yacht by yourself or with, 60-year-old people with 20-year-old supermodels on a super yacht. Like, if that's what you want, good. Like, I don't fucking know. That is not the life I care for. I love my family. I love the intimate quality time we spend together. That matters to me more than anything else. That's the life I want. It does not have to be the life that you want. Go, if you want a fancy watch or car, do that. I don't care about watches. I have a Honda Civic and a Toyota RAV4. Those are my fancy vehicles. All right. And the last one ties into all this. And this is really, like I said, the mindset around the end game. So important right here. Time is the real currency. That is the ultimate currency. That's why I've thought about all this stuff. I do not pursue financial freedom. I do not pursue passive income and financial freedom for the sake of having a bunch of money to be able to buy a bunch of random toys and shiny objects and all that stuff. It does not give me any joy to just buy random miscellaneous things or to just go travel nonstop and all that. Like, just if that's you, that's fine. Just understand why you're doing this. For me, time is the real currency. Time is more important than anything else. Money matters. It's almost the most important thing when you're struggling or until you have your bills paid and all that stuff. Like, money is a necessity. Money is important, but the ultimate thing, the financial freedom, my why behind everything, was to be able to enjoy, not provide the same life that I had to live as a child. Because it's pretty sad. And I'm grateful for my mom for how much she had to work to be able to make all this possible. And in theory, I would love to say, well, I wish she was able to spend more time with us and work less. But that's stupid to say if that means we're going to live on the streets and not have food, right? That's the reality of it. And I get that. But I did all this so that my kids, I could be as present and intentional with them as possible, especially in their earliest ages, the most formative ages. And they're so cute and they, like, you're their superhero and they love you and they just always happen to see, like, God, it's like, why would I, like, that's why I did all this. And that's why I don't care about growing my financial freedom anymore. Like, I'm growing, I'm buying multiple properties. I just got to the point of our systems are good. I have teams of people. I pay them good salaries. Like, we're good. We're growing and all that. Could I push for 10x? Sure. I'm not Grant Cardone. I don't give a shit. Like, I know what I care about and I get to live that life. And that was my biggest turmoil, was when I had the financial freedom. I was not spending my time. I did not put my damn money literally where my mouth was for the whole time up until that point. So either I didn't care about that, which is fine to admit, where I was fake. I was lying to myself. That is what I really cared about. Or I was so used to being one way that got me to achieve my goals. But now it was time to shift and learn and be a different person. And I give a lot of appreciation to the final Sub 2 Mastermind, held by Pace and Jamil. Breathwork by Shannon, Cody Sperber's ex-wife, and the wives of some of these very successful investors, learning and hearing from them what it's like on the family and wife side. Was like, damn, I thought my job was to be a provider, to make money. And that's my goal. If I could just provide, I've done what I couldn't have as a kid, right? We had a provider in the house. Then I realized that was the bare minimum at this point. I can easily provide. So it's more about how do I make my family and my kids, how do I give them the best life that is in alignment with what I also want? So all that being said, money is so fundamental until your bills are paid, obviously. After that, time is the most important thing, at least for me. And for me, it's building the life that I care about and then having the time and money to pursue it, but not trading the most important resource, time, to make money that no longer changes my life. I work because I enjoy this stuff. I work in a limited fashion and I work on high leverage activities and I get tremendous rewards for it at this point because I put in the consistent work for years. You will too. If you put in the consistent work consistently, you follow everything I told you, you will get to that point, whatever that level is for you. And if you choose to continue working, amazing. Like I said, when I quit my W-2, I had 10 extra hours. I spent the majority of that with my family and then add a little bit more to my real estate. And I was already doing 2 hours of real estate. So I went from 2 hours to temporarily going to 8 hours in real estate and then going from the rest of the family and then adding that extra, couple hours, 4 hours extra with family. And then now I work fundamentally, especially the 2026 goal. It's not that I'm always perfect on this. Like I said, I'm a workaholic. Achieve the same, if not more results while working less than 4 hours a day during the weekdays and enjoying my weekends with my family. That allows me the privilege to enjoy my slow mornings. That allows me the privilege to enjoy good, healthy foods, take walks, work out, right? Built a little home gym in my office, work out, do the things that I care about, and still grow and build to higher levels and help tons of other people, but within the constraints that make my life the most meaningful. And I hope that resonates with some of you. So decide the life that you want first, and then build a portfolio to support it. And once you get those results, really evaluate how you're spending your time. Is it in alignment with what you said? Did you just say it to say it? Like I kind of had turmoil. Was I just saying it to say it? Or am I going to put my money where my mouth is and really enjoy this life? If you decide at some point, hey, you know what? I don't like spending time with my family and all that. That's on you. I could not even fathom that. That's on you. Like, I mean, I hear boomers, not all boomers, but the boomer humor of dissing their wife, dissing their kids, talking about it. Well, I don't even understand that like mindset. My wife is my best friend. I love her. My kids, I love spending time with them. Like, I don't even understand that kind of humor because it's like, it's actually the biggest turnoff for me. Talk to someone who's like dissing their family. I'm like, wow, either you suck or it is so bad at home that you do suck because you're not choosing to move on from that. Like, you're doing it by putting everyone in limbo. I can't even fathom it. So it just is a thing I don't even understand. Just decide your life first, build the portfolio to support it. And when you get those goals, really, really critically think and evaluate. It's all right to change your mind. Critically think and evaluate what is it that you want to do now, especially when money is no longer a question. So with all that, if you feel stuck, if you feel overwhelmed, or you're unsure what to focus on, it's more than likely not because you're missing tactics. Like I said, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to be in these rooms. I've learned tactics. I've done all those things. I got you. But the biggest lessons have come from looking at others in the rooms, the most successful, those that are just starting out, asking the right questions, that have good progress, those are consistently building and exploding in the best way possible. And realizing those that are the most successful usually have a lot of clarity, have adopted the right identity, and know that it's ultimately up to them to execute. That's what I work on. That's what I help people with. That is why our community is pivoting, the free one, to becoming the real estate freedom roadmap, because building wealth and buying and holding assets is not relevant to the vast majority of people, or, that's part of it. That's a big part of what I help. And I have plenty of ways to help you do that. But I got to meet you where you're at, right? I can't impose my tactics for what helped me build a massive portfolio on everyone. That doesn't work for everyone. I want to help you where you're at. I want to help you with what you're struggling with, because a lot of that is the same stuff I was struggling with over the last couple of years. So with that, there's no time for questions. I apologize. If you take anything away from all this, be clear on your goals and do the work that actually moves the needle, especially once you've adopted the identity of what you want to do. I've given you guys access to my free community. You're more than welcome to hop into that. I will drop the link one last time for anyone else that wants it. And I'll leave it at that, guys. I appreciate you guys. I know I resonate with so many people because people come up to me in all these rooms and say, dude, like, even though my financial goals, my portfolio is so massive compared to what a lot of people ever want, the way that I operate, the way that I think, the reason why I'm doing all this stuff is the same reason why the vast majority of people are doing this. You want your time, and that comes through financial freedom, right? Wherever you're at, it's the eventual goal to have passive income, to cover all your expenses, to live the life that you want on your own terms. And it usually isn't this insane lifestyle. You're usually doing it for your family, for your health, for your hobbies, for the things you care about, not usually for chains and watches and cars and all these other things, right? Enjoy all that you've worked towards. Enjoy the work that you're putting in to enjoy a lifestyle that you care about. But don't pursue other people's goals. Don't make yourself feel bad based on other successes. Leverage all of that in your own benefit, in your own journey, to accomplish the life that you're looking for. That's the only thing that matters at the end of the day. So with that, appreciate you guys. Thank you, and have a phenomenal rest of your week.